I loathe you, evil father, Nick confided. A dark laughter came from the small lips. Savage Garden is once again here to discuss the Vampire Lestat's Episode 6, Montreal, and this time I'm more broken-hearted than usual. This is definitely one of the most devastating episodes of the season, along with Episode 3 of course, and my rating, you may ask? 4 stars. Why not 5? Well, because there were some dialogues in this episode that were not great, and there were also some adaptation choices that I don't really like, but we'll talk about it. First off, I need Delaney Hales to be showered in awards. Her portrayal of Ghost Claudia and the rage she carries with her in the afterlife was absolutely awesome, magnificent, and chilling. Like, I need her to be nominated for all of the awards. I can't wait to see more of her in other works of television or of cinema, because she is truly a splendid and talented actress. This, of course, also applies to Sam and Jacob, because we know it. They are really extremely talented actors, but I feel that when they're together, when they're working together, they highlight their talents. It's like they complement each other. It's such a great time to see them working together and exploring that amazing chemistry they have. I'm going to begin, of course, with the most shocking part of this episode, which was the sense of Claudia, the spirit of Claudia coming into our story. The rage of Claudia in the books, when she expresses her hatred towards Louis, was perfectly adapted into the perspective and context that was given to this story and adaptation. Because yes, in the books, Claudia, or Ghost Claudia, admits to Louis that she always hated him, that she loathed him. And she also told him that she chose him instead of Lestat because he's easier to manipulate, because he has a more passive personality that she could take advantage of. And seeing it adapted on screen was amazing, but also heartbreaking, because Louis and Lestat always saw Claudia as some sort of object. They never saw her as her own person, because they created her for selfish reasons, and they always treated her with selfish reasons. They never prioritized her. And seeing that reflected also in the sense of her, in the way that they don't let her rest, they don't let her just move on with her life and with their own lives, they don't move on with their own lives, is absolutely shocking and devastating. And the way Louis told Claudia that she should be thanking him for what he did to Bruce was so Mamadou coded, like they're always doomed to repeat the patterns of those who came before them. And that applies to us as well as humans, of course. But the audacity of Louis to tell that to Claudia after everything that happened between them, after cursing her life forever, eternally. Oh my god, these monsters. Claudia, she had every right to tell Louis those words. Because, like I said before, Louis and Lestat never saw Claudia as a person. And in the trial, she also found out that Louis asked for her like a child asking for a dog. That Louis begged for her without thinking about how cursed her life would be. And she carried all of that rage with her to the death. And she didn't have the opportunity to rest, because how can such a tormented soul such as Claudia's rest after dealing with so many shit throughout her whole life? Mind you, I do believe Claudia in a way loved both Louis and Lestat, but I also believe that she exaggerated and emphasized her hatred towards Louis because she never had a chance to tell him that while she was alive. She always told Lestat how much she despised him, and she always rejected Lestat, and she actively tried to kill him. So Lestat was aware of that, but Louis wasn't. And she made sure that Louis was also aware that she hated him as much or even more than she hated Lestat. And even though this was pretty accurate to the Book of Merrick, this is also the part where the dialogues are not the best of the season. In the book, sometimes fledglings are referred, but metaphorically, as slaves of their makers. And yes, in season 1, Claudia referred to Louis and herself as slaves because she was talking of Lestat as this white master that wouldn't let them go. But in here, she implied that Louis was born a slave, that he was innately a slave, and that kinda felt out of place, especially because there were no black writers involved in this episode. And Claudia also used a slur word, and she also talked about her black life as part of the curse she lived, and we know that Claudia wouldn't talk about her heritage that way. So yes, I do agree that we need to criticize and call out the choices for these dialogues because they were not the best option, and I understand why some people are upset about it. They are in their right to be. Regarding Merrick, I hope we get to see more of her because there is a complete novel talking about her life, and she's such an interesting character with such interesting experiences. And in here we got like 5 minutes of her and we don't get much background of her life. So I expect to see more of her in the future and to explore her more because I love the actress. The actress is fabulous. The way she channeled Claudia's spirit, the way she acted that Sean's part was so incredible, and I want to see more of her in the future. This episode felt as if it was written to be set in New Orleans, but maybe for budget reasons they had to shoot in Montreal. And oh my god, it was such a nostalgic Lestat episode, seeing Louis and Lestat interacting again like the old times with all of the music callbacks and there are in this episode was so heartwarming and nostalgic. I felt happy for a brief moment of this episode. It also warmed my soul the way Louis immediately recognized how Lestat is hurt by his relationship with Gabriella. Because when Louis finds out about Lestat's incestuous relationship with his mother, he is of course disgusted. I mean, who wouldn't? But when he sees and realizes that Lestat is actually hurt by this dynamic, that Lestat is actually equally disgusted by it, even though he tries or he pretends to not be, he immediately goes and comforts Lestat and tries to take care of him because he realized that it is not something silly Lestat is doing for fun, but it is something a lot darker than that. Louis even tried to trauma bond with Lestat by saying he was also abused as a child. I don't know if he said that in like a metaphorical way or if he actually lived that experience, but I felt it was Louis trying to trauma bond with him, to show him he was not alone in that experience. And then Louis also asks for Lestat's blood, which, by the way, that detail of Lestat mixing his blood with the drink was incredible. That is not something for the books, but it's something that I appreciate in this adaptation. It's amazing. And Louis asking for Lestat's blood is a way of him trying to tell Lestat that he's not disgusted by him, that he still loves him and appreciates him, despite all the trauma Lestat has gone through. And the revenge porn video reminds me of a part of the books set in the 18th century where Armand drinks Lestat's blood non-consensually. In the books, the vampires have like this seductive power to like kind of hypnotize your mind, and Armand does that to Lestat and starts drinking his blood without Lestat consenting to it. And when Lestat realizes what is happening, he pushes Armand away and beats the shit out of him. And since in this season they decided to skim over Lestat's story and to focus more on his present, they had to of course adapt some of the events of the past into Lestat's present. For example, the shooting that happened as Lestat being a rock star, that happens in Lestat's past in the books when he was an actor. So I think this was a way of adapting that part of Armand violating Lestat, because we know in the books the act of consuming another's blood without their consent is a metaphorical way of portraying sexual assault. So here Armand also disrespects Lestat's boundaries by sharing a video of him and his mom with the world, with the internet, in a way that now that part of Lestat will never be hidden away, because once it's on the internet, you cannot erase it from it, even though how much you try. So yeah, I think it was like some sort of adaptation from that assault of Armand to Lestat in the book into the present. By the way, in the books, vampires don't really care about incest, or they don't really care about human morality for what matter. Of course, in the books, Gabrielle and Lestat's relationship is not as horrific as it is in the show. I mean, Gabrielle is not a sexual predator that is after her son. But even if it were like that, vampires wouldn't have been so disgusted by it or so shocked by it, because they are above that. They are monsters, they are not humans, so they wouldn't have cared about it. But in this show, these vampires are more attached to their human morality, and I understand why Louis was so freaked out about that. But I'm also happy that he realized how her Lestat was for it, and he comforted his lovely blonde baby. I also liked how they briefly, very briefly, addressed that, yes, having the blood of Akasha in you makes you this horrific monster, but you're also responsible for your own actions. You cannot blame everything you do for having the blood of Akasha in you. You need to be accountable for what you did. Because yeah, you're a vampire, you're a monster, but you also have reasonable thoughts, and you can control the way you behave yourself, no matter how much predatory you are. Now, Brutal Love is the Lestat song of all centuries. My god, that scene was perfect. Like, Sam Reed and Jacob Anderson's chemistry is unmatched. The way they can portray so much emotions and feelings with just looking at each other is chilling. Like, I was moved to almost tears by just seeing them looking at each other so intensely and so lovingly. I also loved seeing Gabriella jealous, like, yes, when Louis is around, Lestat doesn't have eyes for anyone else but his Louis, so you are irrelevant here, mama. Get out of the picture. It was also exciting to hear Lestat singing briefly Come to Me.
Each other like star-crossed lover mine, mine.
I was expecting to hear like a new version of Come to Me into Lestat's rockstar repertoire, but I don't think we're going to get that. But at least it was amazing to hear a little bit of that magnificent song Lestat wrote for Louis all of those years ago. And of course, the ending of this episode was mind-blowing and head-dropping. You know what I mean? Like, Armand is genuinely and properly gremlin out, and he's making his minion follow his steps. Like, I'm not really sorry for Louis and Lestat, because I did feel that their stroll in the park was a bit anticlimactic after everything they saw of Claudia. Like, they saw her daughter being restless in the Afterdark. They found out that her daughter can't find her soulmate in the afterlife because she cannot find any rest. And Madeline probably just moved on and she's stuck in the spirit world. And then they just go to the park to, oh yeah, well, she pretty much closed the door on that. Yeah, she left no ambiguity. Yeah, well, what can we do? Let's get all lovebirds again. Like, dude, how can you be so chill after everything you saw? In the book, after Louis contacted Claudia's ghost, he tried to kill himself. And we saw something of that in season 2 when Louis thinks he's listening to Claudia. But since they can't repeat that again, I guess they just went for the funny route, but it felt pretty anticlimactic to me. And so I'm not sorry for them. Like, bitch, you just saw your daughter's ghost being tormented, and now you're just being lovebirds in the park? Like, besides, this means that Dr. Farid will be back to attach their heads, and I'm pretty excited to see Dr. Farid again because he's pretty great in the books, and I'm wondering what are they going to do with him here in the show. So yeah, I can't wait to have Farid back and to see Lestat with their heads in the right place again. I also think that Alex thinks that Lestat was the one who made Larry kill himself. He's not aware that it was Armand who did it. And Armand, of course, is taking advantage of that to use Alex as a weapon against Lestat. Regarding the adaptation choice, I didn't really like in this episode. I hate, and I really mean that, I hate that the concert is going to be set in Montreal. Of course, this is not no hate at all towards Canada or Montreal, no. But it's because Montreal doesn't have any connections to this story. Like, in the books, San Francisco is the actual city where the concert takes place. If they didn't want to go back to San Francisco, they could have used to New Orleans, which I already told you that like this episode felt like it was set in New Orleans, and maybe it was because of budget that they couldn't film in New Orleans, but it feels so out of place to have this big final concert of Lestat in Montreal, out of all places. I don't know, I don't really like that as a book fan, but oh well, we need to carry on, unfortunately. So yeah, that's it for now. I cannot believe the season is almost over. We waited so much time for this story and now it's almost over. What? But I'm really excited for the season finale. Of course, Armand is going to be properly gremlin out. I'm wondering who this man is. Like my inner self is screaming David Talbot, but I don't think it's David, so I really have no clue who that man could be. And I am fearing for Regina's life because Armand will be properly gremlin out, of course, in the next episode, and this person looks like Regina, so yeah, I fear for her life, but I'm excited to see how everything will end, how everything will develop. Will we see Akasha again in the final episode? Let's find out.